Some people, when they see that their content's not working, get like demoralized. I've always kind of viewed this as a marathon and not a sprint. As a creator, there's always more work to be done. At some point, you just got to say, okay, I'm going to stop. And I think that a lot of creators don't know when to stop.
You made funny videos, you put them up, they got popular. And then a few years down the line, all of a sudden you have to be a business owner and you have to be the manager. How have you been able to manage that?
What you're seeing now is companies like Mythical taking a much smarter approach to creators as a business. One thing that I really enjoy that we changed about Smosh is that it's not just what I find funny. It's expanding the point of view beyond suburban boy from Sacramento, California.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU's Day. I am Kevin Lieber, flying without the man who's always with me, Matthew Tabor, tonight. But that's okay, because we have an excellent guest, the royal we. I'm considering all of you listeners here with me tonight. I want to thank Main Gear at the top for sponsoring the Create Unknown. But let's get into our guest. Ian Hecox was YouTube literally years before YouTube, and a few years after he worked at Chuck E. Cheese. In 2002, 2 decades ago, a friend's malapropism describing a mosh pit as a Smosh pit resulted in Anthony Padilla creating Smosh.com, a hub for flash animations and videos. It wasn't long before Ian joined the project. They'd been friends since they met in the 6th grade. They made a few lip-syncing videos to themes from Mortal Kombat, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and more, and threw them up on this thing called YouTube in 2005. Smosh was dominating the platform, including creating its most viewed video ever, their version of the English Pokemon theme. A year later, Smosh was in Time's Person of the Year issue. Ian and Anthony broadened out to skits and series like Food Battle, but they also kept developing their own IP with Smosh.com. They embraced vlogging, pop culture, and defined YouTube's trending content in its early years, and were acquired by what became Defy Media. In 2015, Smosh the Movie debuted, directed by Alex Winter. That's Bill from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. One of the major themes of this podcast is the evolution of creativity and content. Anthony left Smosh in 2017 and has a successful solo channel. Ian is all things Smosh and thriving. There's been a rotating cast of talent, the tumultuous implosion of Defy, Smosh's acquisition by Mythical Entertainment, and nearly a dozen Smosh-adjacent YouTube channels. And through it all is Ian, proving that you can't fake talent, you can't fake longevity, and you absolutely cannot fake funny. So, Ian, the very first question is this. How are you finally someday going to get canceled? Because it's going to happen to all of us eventually, isn't it? How hasn't that happened yet? What will you do?
First off, I want to say stellar research. I think you hit everything accurately, which is impressive. So I wanted to give you a little golf clap on that. As far as the canceled goes, I mean, it could happen any day. Honestly, there's so much old stuff that is in extremely poor taste. But I think that a lot of our viewers, a lot of our old time viewers, kind of understand, like, when that stuff was made. It wasn't made with malintent, and that it was just comedy, albeit maybe bad comedy or bad taste nowadays. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole load of inappropriate stuff in there. And I was talking to Anthony recently, and we were just kind of like, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, no, I think that everyone is surprisingly, I guess we don't give them enough credit for understanding that we were just trying to make some jokes. Um, so yeah, bravo to people for not canceling us yet. And then this is the point when somebody will clip that, and then it'll go into the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, and then yeah, showing me doing something really inappropriate 12 years ago.
Right, right. The circus music plays and then it's all
Yeah,
over. We never hear from you
it's
again,
all
and
yeah.
that's it. But it's really remarkable, how many people from that era, that original era, aren't around for one reason or another. I mean, there's plenty of
Mm.
reasons, and it was a long time ago, so it makes sense that people will have moved on to other careers, or some people, have been canceled, have canceled themselves, have just grown out of favor with their content, and just aren't popular anymore, which is totally normal for any entertainment industry or property or style or genre, no matter what it is. That just happens. Yet Smosh is still, through thick and thin, man. You have been through how many fires and still
Yeah.
continue to reach people, like have a strong following, put out funny content. I was just watching the skit that you made about Smosh being acquired by Spirit Halloween, which is very
Oh
funny.
yeah.
Um, what has that journey been like? Because it's been a long one, and I'm sure that through the ups and downs that we've seen from the outside have been nothing compared to what it was like on the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I think the crazy thing of being on this platform for so long is seeing this sort of like ebbs and flows, and it's very much like you're riding these sort of waves. You have high points and you have low points. You have a format that hits big, and then you're riding that for a while, then that format no longer really serves the algorithm, then you kind of like take a low point and you find something else. Um, so I think like, yeah, I think that some people, when they see that their content's not working the same way it used to anymore, get like really demoralized or quit. Um, and I think that yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of viewed this as a marathon and not a sprint. And there's I'm sure there's certain things we could have done to try to get like immediate uh, attention or views, but it wouldn't have benefited us in the long run. I think that there's questionable things that creators have done, like launch an NFT and then like scam their fans, and it's like, is that really like, are you really in it for the long term, or are you just trying to like make a quick buck? So I think like I've always like tried to treat the audience with respect, and treat this thing like a real job. And I'm fortunate enough to be uh, about to celebrate a full 17 years making this. So yeah, I mean, I'm very honored. I don't take it for granted. I assume I could be out of a job tomorrow. But yeah, somehow I'm still here with the help of my team.
Well, you must work incessantly. I mean, everybody that we talk to basically on this podcast works pretty incessantly. How have you been able to continue to be excited to come up with another format, to come up with another series, to launch another channel? Like, where does that come from? Because I could see, there's this cliche of burnout, which is a cliche for a reason, because it is a real thing. People go through that in all sorts of industries, not just on YouTube, but it's something that has been talked about kind of a lot, specifically as it relates to online creators, streamers, that sort of thing, getting burnt out. Well, after 17 years, and you're still, happy to hop on this podcast to talk about this crazy thing that you're still doing, there must be some sort of thing, a piece of advice that you've learned along the way, or something that's kept you going, or kept it fresh, or kept it interesting, or kept you from not just kind of going insane. And what has that
Yeah,
been?
I think the thing that really saved us at the beginning was we got a business partner that told us to treat it like a regular job. So taking weekends off was kind of like the first thing that we did. And I think that that's really what enabled us to kind of like really weather the kind of insane times that we were having, because I think, as a creator, there's always more work to be done. And at some point you just gotta like say, okay, I'm gonna stop. And I think that a lot of creators don't know when to stop, whether that's like perfecting an edit or you know producing more content for like another social platform or whatever that case may be. And like it's fine if you want to do that, but you can't do it yourself. And if you think you can do everything and you're looking at another creator and you're saying like I can do that, well, you don't know what kind of like assistance that person might have. I think that, if you're a creator with a certain amount of success and a certain amount of income, I say like the moment you can, hire people to take things off your plate, especially the things that you don't like to do. Like for myself, I do not get enjoyment out of editing. Like, I mean, it's like kind of fun to like put it together, and like, it's cool to see something that, you created from beginning to end. That's neat. But I don't want to take, 2 or 3 days to get that feeling, when I could instead use those 2 or 3 days to write something, or you know ideate a new format. Like I think that my uh skills and my talent, if you want to call it that, isn't in editing. So I'm happy to find somebody that can do it and probably do it better. But that's also like another thing with like creators. It's a very like personal thing to a lot of people, and they think that somebody can't do it better than them. And that's, for some creators, probably a lie. Like, there's a lot of talented, editors and people that aspire to be YouTubers out there that would love the opportunity to put out a banger at it. So yeah, I don't know. I think that that's the big that's the big thing, is just like find the things that you're not good at or maybe not excited about, or the things that don't bring you joy, and find somebody else to do that for you.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because we had a very similar conversation with Bobby Duke last week, who has just been recently running into sort of the issues that you were outlining, in which, yeah, you don't know when to turn it off. All of a sudden, it's like 3 a.m. and you're still working on the thing. And it's like, is this really healthy? And just recently, he decided to treat it like a 9 to 5. Just say, I'm going to get up when my wife gets up. I'm going to essentially clock in at 9. I'm going to work until 5. And then once that it becomes 5 o'clock, I conceptually clock out and then spend time with my family and eat dinner and just not think about work, because otherwise it's just you're constantly on edge almost mentally.
Right.
And I
And
think
and it's not. Oh, I was just gonna say, and like, if you're not building a routine, or you're not building certain habits towards work, and you don't have a boss, telling you what to do, it's very easy to go, okay, I'm going to do this video today. And then you like sit on your computer and you're just like, okay, like maybe I'll just watch this video, or maybe I'll do this. And you find out that you're wasting way more time, unless you were to just, set a habit of like, okay, for this amount of time, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I mean, we used to waste so much time back in the day before we kind of set a schedule for ourselves. It was just like, oh yeah, we'll film a video today, and then we would sit around for 5 hours, then go to Denny's, and then go back to the house, and be like, I don't know, like, should we shoot that? Like, so I think like as lame as building a routine and a schedule may sound, I find that it's definitely better for your mental health and just for productivity.
Right, for your creative life, I think that it's better to set those boundaries. Because yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking, it works both ways. It works for the workaholic who can't turn it off and then becomes burned out to turn it to force themselves to turn it off, and then it also works for the procrastinator, kind of on the other end of the work spectrum, to say like, look, I'm going to sort of create a boundary for myself to be productive within and set some limits so that I can get stuff done and not just say, oh, I could do it later. I mean, I certainly fall under the former category for the most part, where I'll always think that I will, it's like, okay, I got Monday through Friday. I'll get whatever I need to get done Monday through Friday while like normal people are working. And then I have the weekend, which is like 2 free days where no one will bother me. And then I can get like extra things done to set myself up for the next regular work week. And sometimes that works. And sometimes, like this past weekend, I hit Sunday and I was planning on shooting something on Sunday. And I was just mentally drained. I was like, nope, this is not happening. I'm just going to listen to myself. I'm going to listen to my body. I'm fatigued. My brain is like a bowl of oatmeal right now. I'm going to just like veg out with my oatmeal brain all day Sunday, and then, start on Monday and not force myself, because if I force it, then probably I will set myself up for a full week of just being in hell, basically.
Right. And you're probably not going to be that productive if you tried to do it, if you try to sit down and do it at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's election season. Something of consequence is happening in Europe. Inflation is rising faster than my blood pressure when a YouTube video is stuck on processing. Whatever, you've got bigger problems. You need to find talented people to work with. It really is what'll determine whether your business sinks or swims. You need sharp, reliable people who fit perfectly with your company's mission and mood. And if you don't have that, you'll just be in hiring mode endlessly. LinkedIn Jobs is the easiest way to find the right people for you and your business. Everyone I know who's actively looking for a job is on LinkedIn. Make a free job post, add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your profile to show that you're hiring, and then add a few simple screening questions. It'll narrow down the candidates who you want to interview. Sort them out and then commit. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 for a reason. LinkedIn Jobs helps you connect with the most qualified candidates you need to talk to, and faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/create. That's linkedin.com/create to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Look, the proverbial sands are dripping through the hourglass of 2022. It's Q4. You need to get on this, and nothing is more efficient than LinkedIn Jobs. linkedin.com/create.
Well, one thing that I wanted to ask you in particular, because, we have had some kind of like OG people on the podcast. We've had Mark Douglas from Barely Political and the Key of Awesome fame. We had James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. You really had very early major success on YouTube in a way that is incredibly rare. Like it's a really short list of people. I mean, let's put this into context. Smosh must have been one of the first 5 or 10 maybe channels to hit 1 million subscribers, right? Is that right? Do you know what the number was?
Right. Yeah, we were one of the first.
Fred was number one.
Yeah, Fred, I believe, beat us to 1 million. Lonely Girl beat us to 100,000, I believe. But yeah, we were kind of in this like constant like battle in those early days of like when the subscriber counts mattered. It was like, yeah, this battle between like, for a while it was like us and Fred, Niga Higa, Ray William Johnson, those kinds of channels. But I mean, like at the same time, like, our channels were at that time, a couple. It was a few years old, and they hadn't hit 1 million subscribers, and that was still considered like top channels. So it's just kind of like the scale of success back then and now is like totally different, because a channel that has 1 million subscribers is, well, it's still very impressive, and like congrats to everyone that hits that. It's not an insane number anymore. It's like, oh yeah, okay, nice. Like they're doing well, but I mean there has to be, I mean,
Thousands.
thousands,
Yeah.
thousands, tens of
Yeah.
thousands, maybe. Um, yeah, but back in the day, like, in the first VidCon, you knew every channel that had over 100,000 subscribers. Like they were like a big deal. So it's just so funny to see how much like the scale has changed. Like channels will get 1 million subscribers within a day now. So it's definitely different.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that at VidCon this year. I don't know if did you attend VidCon this year?
I
Were you
did.
there?
I've been to every one.
Yeah, it was mostly a TikTok event. They were the main sponsor, and a lot of the featured creators were TikTokers, and it was so
Mhm.
funny contrasting those early days of VidCon in which everyone knew everyone, even if you weren't like friends, even if
Mhm.
you didn't, say hi, like, oh, hey, Ian, like, what's going on? I'm Kevin, whatever. Even if you weren't at that level, like,
Yeah.
you knew who everybody was. You're like, oh, there's
Yeah.
Phil DeFranco, and there's Jenna Marbles, and there's Harley, and it's like it was like a Dunbar's number worth of people where you could contain it in your brain cognitively. Now it's impossible. Now it's and not even the TikTokers know each other. They're like, oh, what's your account? Oh yeah, I have 12 million followers. Oh, cool. What do you do? Like no one knows anybody. What? So it is just a wildly different landscape. What I wanted to ask about those early days is I often think about what I thought, I suppose, YouTube would be like, not even in 2022, but even in like in 2015, what will it be like? What did you think in, 2008? Like, oh, what will YouTube and what will this job and what will my life be like in 5 years? And how has that sort of changed from what it became?
Um, I mean, we were so just like focused on our own channel that we weren't really like making a lot of like educated guesses about what YouTube itself would be like. I think that our main hope was that like uh CPMs would improve. Like because we were in the early days of like, brand deals and brand integrations and AdSense. We were one of the first 10 channels to be in the YouTube partnership program. So, we were talking with a lot of people and seeing like, oh, like, the ad rates for people on YouTube are like pennies compared to ad rates on TV. And so, our hope was that eventually like advertisers would start to take notice, and then bigger brands would be interested in YouTubers, and CPMs would get better, and they definitely have. Still not at like TV levels, but getting better. So yeah, I mean things have definitely changed. I think what I didn't predict was the attitude from viewers towards creators doing branded content. I never expected the day when somebody would put a 2-minute raid Shadow Legends uh, promo in the first part of their video, and their viewers applaud them for it. Because in the early days of YouTube, if you did a brand sponsorship, everyone called you a sellout. So like that's been the trend, like the change in the landscape that I did not see. And I mean, I appreciate it, and I think it's just like, I think people just have like a better understanding of like, oh, like people aren't just like doing this for fun. Like if they want to do it, they have to be able to support themselves. And in order to support themselves, they need to take a Raid Shadow Legends brand deal. So I like that has changed, and that like the response now is like overwhelmingly positive when somebody does a brand deal or a brand integration, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I will still occasionally get messages asking me what my real job is. So I'm
That's tight.
like, well, I am a bartender, and I work.
There was definitely a shift where, like, when I would tell people, like strangers on a plane, like that I did YouTube, like there was always like this like kind of like confused look and like, what is your real job? And they're like, so you make money? And then there was like a flip, and probably like, I don't know, like 2015 or somewhere, like when like the Ryan Toys review figure dropped on like Forbes, and then like strangers went from being like, that's a job, to being like, oh, so you're a millionaire. Like there's this very strange, like there's no like, oh, like maybe you're like, making like a living, but it's fine. It's like people went from assuming that you were doing it as like a hobby, and then going to just assuming that you're making millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's quite a leap to go from, oh, you're like a weirdo loser, to,
Hmm.
oh, you're one of the richest people in the world. Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
or they'll be like,
heck
oh,
of
I
a
heard
swing.
about this 9 year old kid that's making $15 million a year. I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember the
it's not
article,
me.
whatever the first article was of on PewDiePie's, annual raking it in. I don't remember
Hmm.
what it was, who wrote it, whether it was Rolling Stone or I don't remember. It was so long ago now, but it was like, this kid's making $30 million a year as a YouTuber, and then there
Yeah,
was this
and all he
buzz where
does
it's
is
like, wow,
press a record button on his camera. Like
yeah,
that was always the thing that bothered me, of like the judgment that would always that would always follow the figure, of being like, all he does is play video games. It's like, no, it's a little bit more than that.
right, right. Which, even if you had like the most cursory understanding of economics, it would be quite clear that there was more to it than that. It's like, okay, plenty of people play video games and they don't make millions of dollars, so there must be some sort
Must
of
be
like
something
value
else.
add involved here. No,
Yeah.
no, that's not connecting at all in your brain. Okay, all right, fine, but I mean, to a large extent, I actually do feel like it is still that way in some regard. I think that, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I mean that still
I've
exists
noticed.
definitely, for especially for people like, like Amaranth, to another, to a kind of different degree, where they're like, all she does is this and she makes millions of dollars, and it's like, well, there's more to it than that. Like you have to be like really good at marketing and work all the time and just be talented. So yeah.
Well, and be able to do, so many different jobs. That was something when I was thinking earlier today about you, and got your start, which was just by making funny videos with your friend. You made funny videos, you put them up, they got popular, and then a few years down the line, all of a sudden you have to be a business owner, and you have to be like a manager, and you have to be a director, and you have to be an actor, and you have to be a writer, and all of this stuff. It's so much responsibility. For it reminds me of, there was a Mitch Hedberg joke that, anytime you retell a joke, it's going to be terrible, but I'll do it anyway. Where
Yeah, let's hear it.
he was basically lamenting the fact that like comedians are also expected to be actors. He's like, oh, you're a comedian, you must also be an actor. And he's like, these are two different jobs. He's like, you would never
Mm,
go to a chef and be like, oh, you're a chef. Do you farm?
hmm.
You
Yeah.
can cook food. Can you also grow it? Like, well, just because they both involve food doesn't mean that they're the same skill set. But with YouTuber, you are expected to do all of those things and do them at a high level. So, like, how have you been able to manage that?
Well, I think like I was very fortunate to have a really great partner through, those first 10 plus years. In that, he was much better at editing. He was, really good at like, he did some like coding stuff. He kind of like helped develop like our merch in the beginning. so he had a lot of skills that I didn't have. So I feel like we kind of complemented each other really well in that regard. Um, so I think for me it's like, yeah, I mean, being a solo YouTuber is not something that appeals to me because I don't want to be in control of it all. Like I really I find that, I'm most useful doing the things that I'm good at, or doing the things that bring me joy, and I think that kind of carries through in the content. So yeah, I mean, I had the privilege of having help, and having somebody that was good at the things that I wasn't good at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you've been sipping, but you've got it all wrong. It's time to commit to the leaf. We've embraced the smoothness and surprising pick-me-up that tea provides. I literally drink it all day long, nearly a gallon a day, and it powers me through research, script writing, and forums on websites that I refuse to name here. But we don't drink normie NPC tea. We drink cultured and refined anime tea from the Dragon's Treasure. Kevin still likes the gunpowder green called Space Cowboy, and I've sampled nearly 40 Dragon's Treasure teas at this point. Lately, I've been slamming black teas like Kentucky Bourbon and liquefied Berserk Despair. Scottish Breakfast is deep and peaty, and I smooth it over with Sebastian's Morning Earl Grey, which has the best vanilla cream taste I think I've ever had in a cup. Give me a pot of that with a hot meatball sub from Sal's Pizza and Brooks Barbecue Chicken to wash down my last meal on death row. I highly recommend the sampler packs. You'll want to try everything just like I did. I literally have not had one tea that I wouldn't be happy to reorder. The Dragon's Wings membership fuels new tea experimentation, and the Tea of the Month Club provides a regularly scheduled surprise. And when you order from the Dragon's Treasure using code CREATE, you'll get 10% off your order. That's 10% off using the code CREATE at thedragonstreasure.com. The link's in the description.
Well, and you work with a lot of people now. I'd love to get into a little bit later about, the size of Smosh, your role and stuff. But I want to circle back a second because I'm so interested in this idea of, working within the context of a larger company. So, you're with Mythic now, Rhett and Link's company. Before that, you were with Defy for a bit, what was it called before it was Defy? I don't remember.
It was Alloy Digital.
Alloy Digital, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember meeting those people a million years ago in another life. But what I'm interested in asking you about is sort of the grand promise of, I don't even know what year this was, 2012 maybe, where there was so much money going into, like, I don't think people really remember this today. Certainly not the way that you will, and not the way that I do, that there was this big boom that busted, a bubble that busted with things like Alloy Digital and Maker Studios, which was purchased by Disney for $500 million and then went absolutely straight into the ground. It was such a weird time where a lot of money was being thrown around with the idea, I guess, that at some point they would make more money than that. But that didn't happen. It just it didn't happen, and it didn't happen quickly.
Yeah, I mean, some of it just feels like hype money, right? Like we see that with some of the stuff in like esports. Like people are like, "What's the hot thing? It's esports. What's the hot thing? It's TikTok." And we need to put money into that because it's hot. And I think like that was the first like boom and bust, which was like kind of the MCN model of like, okay, there's like YouTubers and they have a lot of viewers, and then there's these companies that these channels, like these like MCNs, own them, but then turns out they didn't. So I mean, like what I think the issue was like with Maker, they didn't own those channels. Like those people could just get up and leave the MCN one day. So while they might boast like we have, we get like 10 billion views every month, and advertisers are like, wow. What they don't mention is like, okay, but 7 million of those are or 7 billion of those are PewDiePie, and he could leave at any moment. So it's like not the most like sound business. I think there, like when you look under the hood of something like that, you're like, there's not much going on here that they can control. I think that, you know, I don't know. Like if you asked any creator at that time when Disney bought Maker, like everyone thought it was a terrible idea. And it turns out it was. And so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of these sort of like boom and bust of these MCNs. Uh, Defy was doing something very similar for us. We were owned and operated by them. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I mean, it didn't work out. And when something as big as Maker fails, then a lot of other investors pull out their interest in something like that. They see something big like Maker failing, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, backing away from this." So I think what you're seeing now is people like Mythical, companies like Mythical taking a much smarter approach to creators as a business, and putting actual focus into the business of creators, and rather than just this kind of like hype. Yeah,
That's
so
what I
it's
was
it's interesting.
wondering. Yeah, because it seems like things have settled in a lot of regard in terms of what a YouTube channel's business is, and
Yeah, I think people are
it.
getting a much better idea of like how to run a YouTube channel, or a multi-platform channel successfully, and building out different branches of income, so you're not just relying on like YouTube ad revenue. So people are looking at it much more intelligently. I mean, comparing creators' merchandise offerings to merchandise offerings like 10 years ago is like nothing else. Like people are so like savvy with what they're putting out. Obviously, you have people like Emma Chamberlain coming out with very successful like coffee company. Just trying like different sorts of avenues, because I think that the creator economy is still, a lot of people think, in its infancy, and so yeah, there's still a lot of growth that can be there. We just yet to see how.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there were any pie in the sky things that they told you back in those days that were like, we're gonna, there's gonna be a Smosh TV channel and we're gonna fill it out with all Smosh content, and then we'll have action figures and Walmart and plushies, whatever.
Yeah,
Was there
they
anything like
did.
that was
I
just
mean,
outlandish?
I mean, straight up, they were trying to. I remember there was a time when they were trying to figure out how we could run like a 24-hour like TV channel with, I don't remember if it was like Defy properties or just like Smosh content, just to get like the cable like sub fee or something. Like it was, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Um, didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was assuming, because those were the types of conversations that I remember happening that just never came to fruition at all. Aside from a handful of YouTubers who did have TV shows, most of them, albeit being very short lived, there at that time there was this sort
Hmm.
of like bubbling interest in taking over, almost like, oh, like this is going to be the next big thing. We'll have our own, whatever. It doesn't matter who you're talking about, like Epic Mealtime taking over the Food Network, or Vsauce taking
Hmm.
over the Science Channel, and Smosh taking over Comedy Central, or whatever it was. There was a lot of kind of
Yeah.
grandiose expectations, I think,
Yeah,
set.
and expectations that we needed to be in those spaces. Um,
Right.
like, yeah, there was a lot of sentiment that like, oh, like TV show would be like the ultimate, or a movie would be like the ultimate. And it's like, do we even, like, are those, being in those spaces, is that even worth our time? Um, we did two movies, and I think it was a really great experience. It was a fun exercise. I don't regret making them. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think like I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to make a movie again. So that was cool. But would we leave everything that we've created online to make another movie? Of course not. So, would we make a movie again? I mean, that'd be cool. But it would be just another piece of what we're doing.
Right. And that's what it comes down to. And that's what I think is so funny looking back on it now, 5-10 years later, whatever it is, or it ended up being like, this actually already is the thing. Like this is the thing.
Yeah.
Like the YouTube channel is the thing. And sure, there can be branching opportunities off that, tributaries that sort of feed the river sort of thing. But it is the thing. It's not like, oh, we're going to become movie stars, or, oh, we're going to have a Smosh sitcom, or whatever.
Or, I mean, you could even do it on YouTube. I mean, there's, creators that are putting out basically full length documentaries for free on YouTube. Defunct Land being a great example. Like, who would have thought that we would all watch a 1.5 hour long video about the Disneyland Fast Pass? I didn't,
right.
but I watched it. So I mean, there's definitely like different ways of doing this now, and different forms of distribution that are successful outside of going the traditional route.
Well, and ironically, I think so many people in those traditional media spaces are looking like, how do we break into this new media thing? Still to this day, because it's a global audience. It's a much younger audience. I mean, I don't know what the stats are. I haven't kept up with them in terms of cord cutting, but I got to imagine it's looking pretty grim as far as the amount of, people in Gen Z that have cable television.
Yeah,
it's got to be low.
I don't know, and I don't know what's like. I don't know what's going to happen to Saturday Night Live, because it's always like Saturday Night Live is always spoken for like the audiences that are like coming into age. And now, I mean, they still make funny stuff, and there's still super talented people that work there. But, watching some of the content, you're like, who is this for? Because like you're making references to things that like, that's supposed to appeal to like millennials or Gen Z. And those aren't the people that are like watching it. So it's like, it feels like there's just this like weird like disconnect where I'm just like, like I think Saturday Night Live has this like weird effect of like everyone that grew up like on Saturday Night Live, that cast was like the best to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how old you are, but I assume, you're looking at like Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell era being like the best. But anyone that was born before us is like, oh no, it's like Belushi, or, like there's
Eddie
always
Murphy.
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And then, people that were born later are like, no, it's like Kristen Wiig and Kate McKinnon. And, it's so like I don't know who it's for anymore. Sorry. I don't know why we went off on that tangent. That was my bad.
I don't know. I like that tangent though, because I've thought the same thing. Because as far as I can tell, it's like boomers are the only people watching SNL at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the Nielsen data says, but if I were to guess, that would be my guess. It's like Gen X and boomers.
Yeah, and I assume that like they're getting a lot of views on YouTube now, so maybe it's okay if they're appealing to millennials and Gen Z because they're seeing it on YouTube, but I can't imagine it's making enough money to like make up for what they're losing in like television share. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I even saw a thing just this week actually about them ripping off a YouTuber. Like it's like the exact same skit.
Oh yeah, Joel
Charmin
Haver.
Bear thing.
Yeah,
the Charmin Bear thing.
A little suspect.
Who was for the record, if anybody watched his reaction to that Charmin Blue Bear skit
Yeah,
being stolen from him, was the most gracious
he was
person
very.
I've
Yeah, he
ever
was.
seen in the world. I was like, whoa, dude, you are like so gracious about this. It's unreal.
Yeah, he was very charitable. I was
Really
surprised,
charitable. It's
but
like, this is
we gotta
astounding.
give poor SNL. We gotta give him a chance.
Yeah.
We want to help you make something and mean something. And we say that phrase all the time because when you're making something and you know it means something, even if it's just to you, that's when you feel pretty good about what you're creating. The support for the Create Unknown in recent weeks has been incredible. Animators, artists, musicians, YouTubers, aspiring filmmakers, comedians, it is crazy how talented everybody in this community is. Consider joining the Create Unknown Patreon. Every dollar that comes through goes straight into the podcast and its community. That means more highlights videos. It means a big Minecraft project that's on the way. And eventually we'd like to manufacture custom piss bottles so you never have to leave your battle station. And being a patron unlocks participation in all of our live recordings. You've seen the roster of guests we've had. Having access to their minds is a unique opportunity. You can go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown or click the link that's in the description. Every little bit helps, and your support means absolutely everything to us. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown, links in the description. We appreciate you, Space Cowboys.
I don't know. Well, let's get back to Smosh because I have a couple of more things that I really wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
One is just about the state of Smosh. How many people are working? You have so many channels. It seems like such a big operation. And where do you fit into all of that these days?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, we have like 3 channels that we're operating day to day. We have Smosh, Smosh Pit, Smosh Games. So, Smosh is our sort of main, sort of more scripted channel. We're doing more like scripted improv type stuff now. Pit's more of the personality, challenge game show type channel. Then Games is our board and table and video game channel. And then there's El Smosh, which is our Spanish language channel, which takes videos from the main channel and dubs them in Spanish. But we have, I believe, 38 full-time employees.
Wow.
So yeah. So it's big operation.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's incredible. So,
It's a lot of content.
we were talking a few weeks ago about this, but I'd love for you to expand upon it. Your role these days as like overseeing things, like how much really sort of do you stick your hand in the pies of everything, because you can't be involved like that deeply in everything. Do you oversee scripts, or like really what is your day to day like? Like how are you sort of junctioning that structured work week?
Yeah, I mean, I oversee creative, but I give people the space to see something from beginning to end without me meddling. But yeah, I mean, I just really make sure that things stay in the right direction, and keep people in line with what we think Smosh should be. I'm also on camera still. I love being in videos still. It's probably the narcissist in me. No, but I mean, like, I do get enjoyment out of that. And I mean, yeah, strangely, my days just fill up with meetings. So just meetings that I didn't expect so much of my days to be committed to, like shall we say, talent management. We have a lot of really great on-screen people, but everyone's an artist, and artists are very fragile. So yeah, a lot of that. Not what I expected my life to be when we started Smosh in 2005. But I'm loving the content that we're putting out. I think that we have such a like such talent in front of and behind the camera. Um, and I mean, that was the goal of Smosh, was to, the kind of the kind of guiding light that we used was like, okay, like what, like how can we be sort of like the Saturday Night Live of the internet? And meaning by that, I mean finding talented people, bringing them into the fold, developing them, cultivating them within Smosh, and then developing other opportunities for them outside of here.
And when you talk about something like feeling like Smosh, like feeling like the voice of Smosh, do you have that articulated in your mind in a way where it's like, this is sort of how I see something falling, under the umbrella of Smosh. This is how I see something that doesn't fit under that umbrella. Is that something you could explain, or is it more of an intuition?
I mean, I feel like we've tried to write it down before, and then it just comes off like way too corporate. Like we've tried to like put together like a mission statement before, and it's just like,
That's
like
lame. Yeah.
yeah, like I remember like there was somebody back at Defy back in those days, and we had this like weird like kind of corporate oversight, and one of them came up with this slogan that was like, growing up is weird. And that was like a slogan that they made that like a slogan that they like put up around the office, and it was fucking embarrassing. And I mean, we still joke about it to today. Like whenever we say something that's close to that, and we're like, "Cause growing up is weird, right?" So yeah, I wish I could distill what Smosh was down into a sentence, but yeah, I can't.
But overall, are there things you're like, we stay away from this type of humor, or, we always kind of have a positive spin on this or a silly take on it, something like that? Because I could see that kind of run as a through line for a lot of your humor. It's like
Yeah, and I
there's like a
think
silliness, like a childlike silliness to it.
Yeah, I think that our direction has changed over time. It used to be like comedy at any expense. And maybe that worked in like 2012 when we were just like two suburban kids. But then like you kind of get out into the world and you start to see like, you start to take in like other experiences and other people's points of view, and you're like, this just doesn't hit the same way. So I think for me, like one thing that I really enjoy about that we changed about Smosh is that it's not just like what I specifically find funny, because I don't think I know, I don't know everything, and I can't ideate every joke. So to bring in other people with other points of views and other life experiences from other parts of the U.S. I think only benefits uh, the channel, because it's expanding the point of view beyond suburban boy from Sacramento, California.
Right. It's a very specific point of view. Well, years ago, I remember trying to get you to watch Mr. Show. So the first
Oh
question is,
yeah.
have you watched Mr. Show yet? And the second question, which kind of is an ancillary to that, is if not, then, what sort of comedy did you grow up loving?
I actually did watch a couple episodes after you told me, because I was at the Creator Summit in 2019, right? I feel like it
I don't
was,
remember.
because I remember somebody told me to watch
Sure.
Mr. Show, and then I went and watched it, and it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. I think a creative influence, I mean, a comedy influence for me when I was growing up was Spaceballs. I just
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just so funny. I think that yeah, I guess that speaks to my sense of humor. I mean, I watched Saturday Night Live once my parents allowed me to, when I was in like high school, or like middle school, high school kind of era. Like I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of stuff. My parents, like, we didn't have cable. Like I wasn't able to watch things that were like over PG-13 until I was in the like I don't even know, like a sophomore in high school, or maybe even past. God, I don't even know. So I feel like I was sort of, my parents tried to steer me away from like, media and video games. And then of course I made my entire life and career about media and video games. So good going, mom and dad. Um,
Is isn't that how it always
yeah,
works out?
yeah, I think so.
Well, Spaceballs explains the silliness. I think that Spaceballs is a totally underappreciated in our time classic. That's definitely a movie that I watched in my cousin's basement a
Yeah,
billion times when I was like 6 years old,
yeah. My
and it's
my
so funny.
other my other I mean, a more recent version of a movie like that is They Came Together, which I espouse to everyone. Um, it's made by the same guys that did What Hot American Summer. It's very silly, but so funny. It's so funny. So if you haven't seen They Came Together, check it out. It's stupid good.
All right, I haven't seen it. So is that like David Wayne, like kind of like
Yep.
the Stella crew?
Yep. It's
Yeah.
like it's that
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
crew.
Mhm.
Paul Rudd, Amy Poehler. It's a parody of rom coms. So it's
Oh, okay.
very good.
Upright Citizens Brigade was really funny too. Speaking of Amy Poehler, there are some
Oh
really
yeah, yeah.
good. They did some really, really good skits for the Upright Citizens Brigade, the Comedy Central show.
Definitely.
Okay, I have a couple of more. Then I'm gonna turn it over to our patrons who have a few questions for you.
Cool.
One is Dream Project. Is there something that you haven't done or that you'd like to do again and do better? Anything where you're like, you know what? If I had the time and the resources, this is what I would make. Or are you making that stuff already? That's the
Dream
question.
project. Dream project. I mean, I think when back in the day when I was watching Top Gear and they did like soccer but with cars. I mean, I wish I could just do that. That was sick.
You a big car guy, big gearhead?
I am a car enthusiast. Yeah, I
Oh,
like
okay.
cars, which is my probably not great for the environment, but yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, so something outside of comedy. I'm sure you'd make it funny, but some sort of show about
Oh
cars.
yeah, I don't know if I could do it. I mean, like people just do. Yeah, I don't think I could actually do a car show. I feel like people already got that down. Doug DeMuro's got that locked down.
Okay. All right. Well, then I have to ask you the most serious question of all: is do you actually love Farmville? Because you came in here with this Farmville lover screen name, and I need to know more about this. I don't even understand. Can I just admit I don't even understand what Farmville is, other than I remember it was enormously popular on Facebook as some sort of Facebook game that you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
play,
yeah,
which I don't even know
yeah,
what that means.
yeah.
What does it mean? What to explain Farmville to me?
You want me to explain Farmville?
Yeah, yeah. Teach me about
Farmville
Farmville because I missed
Farmville
the
is
boat on
a
that.
oh man. Yeah, that's a relic of Facebook. It was like a browser game on Facebook where uh you would like harvest crops and then you would like annoy all of your friends on Facebook to like get more crops or something. It was really annoying. So I don't actually love Farmville. I think that was terrible. I think I created this Discord like a few years ago, and I was trying to think of like the worst possible like boomer username. So Farmville lover. Is it LUV? Is it yeah LUVR? Yeah. So it's like a good mix of like AIM screen name and boomer. I don't know. I was just being silly, having a laugh.
So in Farmville, you would bug your friends to do what? Like help you
I
water your crops or
Yeah, it
something?
was
I don't
something
even
like
under.
that. Like, and people would be really annoying about it. Like you would get notifications of like people being like, "Visit my farm" or whatever, and it was just a shitty like browser game. I did play it a little bit back in the day, a little bit. But yeah, just cringe.
I I could see how the the bigwigs at Facebook are like, all right, we need to gamify Facebook. How do we turn Facebook into a game? I know,
Yeah.
farming.
Well, I mean,
Genius.
Farmville
And it worked, didn't it?
Zynga, right? Is that the name of the like?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and then they like went public and everything. Like it was a big deal, and Farmville was like their cash cow at that time.
It's
Like
crazy.
Farmville was a big deal.
Well, I wonder what the metaverse version of Farmville will be.
Oh my
We're going
god.
to see Smosh in the metaverse. All of the things that come out for the metaverse, I'm like, who is working on this, and why are you allowing them to release this stuff as a means of promoting it? Because it all looks it looks like a joke. I don't understand what's
I'm down
happening there.
I think there's something you could do that's fun in the metaverse. I think you could do something fun in there. But yeah, they're putting a lot of money into that, aren't they?
Well, one of the latest features is having legs. That's all. That's all I
Dude.
know, is that you can finally have legs. I mean, I like VR. I think VR is really cool.
Today legs, tomorrow smell-o-vision. You don't know. You don't know. They got that meta money.
Today
You don't know what
legs,
they're coming
tomorrow a nose. Like one set of body parts at a time.
Yeah.
You'll eventually be human. It's like, I already have that stuff. I don't know.
Gosh, I'm excited to see my legs in the metaverse. Very excited.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be awesome. They'll be such good legs. All right, so we have a few questions from our lovely patrons who are hanging out with us here. If you want to become one, just go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Dan the Latch asks, out of all of the things that were attached to the Smosh name, what is the one thing that you wish popped off but didn't? Is there one thing that you really hoped would kind of blow up, I guess, that didn't quite meet your expectations?
I think that we had a game show for a quick moment called You Posted That. And I thought it was like a really cool format. And it did the first episodes did pop off, and then Defy went out of business, and then it was probably like another year before we brought it back. And then it just wasn't the same, didn't do the same kind of numbers, but it was a show that went into people's social media past and kind of put it out in front of everyone in a sort of embarrassing way, but a fun way, and kind of gamified it and said, like, do you remember what you said here? And would like blank out a couple words, and they'd have to try to guess what it was. Or, we did one really successful one where one of our castmates was a big Chris Pratt fan a few years ago, and we surprised her with Chris Pratt in the actual show, and then all of her posts that we brought up were her simping for him. So just kind of like using all these posts to embarrass her in front of Chris Pratt. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I feel like that was a good format.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that the game show format hasn't had a major breakthrough success online. Unless it has, and I don't know it.
Yeah, I feel like people are now starting to like understand like how fun and I don't know about easy, but game shows are like very accessible. And I think that, we've been doing game shows for years, and I feel like I'm starting to see like some streamers do game shows. I've seen some other game shows. So I think it's like starting to catch on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically all network television is at this point, is like some form of game show. It's like all
easy.
That's left.
It's repeatable. I mean, I think that, one of the great things about a game show is that you can play along at home, and that's what makes Jeopardy so great. But then imagine like Jeopardy online, where you're able to like truly interact. So yeah, I think that game shows are probably still to a degree untapped online.
Yeah.
Do you remember HQ Trivia?
Will do that.
That was supposed to change the world.
I do remember that. That didn't last very long.
No.
Did it?
But it was a great idea. Like it was really cool.
Yeah, like blew up, and then a few months later it was gone.
Yeah. Money.
No. Yeah, somebody will do it and make a lot of money. And next question, NRM asks, as a creative who's been around for a while, are there any videos that you regret making? I mean, I guess we touched on that a little bit earlier, but are there any specific ones that come to mind that you're like, yeah, that wasn't so good?
I mean, like all I could really think of is like when we did Smosh the movie, had like the company that co-produced it with us, like there was like a stipulation that we had to like upload like 4 like separate trailers to our channel, and we're like, what? Like this is like we're just gonna load the main channel with junk with like these like clips, and but they insisted on it, and of course they did like bad. So yeah, I remember like yeah, we were not happy about that. Yeah, it's a random one.
Yeah, I've been in conversations like that where people who don't understand YouTube think, yeah, just release this on your YouTube channel and everyone will love it and it'll get millions of views. Because that's how it works. It's like, well, the content itself also kind of has an influence on whether or not people like it and will watch it.
Well, one of the strangest business things we did back in those sort of days was we released a magazine. We released 2 issues of a magazine, and I remember the publisher was like, "You're just not promoting it enough. Like you need to talk about it in every video." And we're like, "We're not. No, we're not going to do that." But yeah.
Then every video becomes a commercial for your magazine, which is so ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah, that was a weird moment, and I know a couple people still have those magazines. I see it every once in a while. It's pretty silly.
Yeah, but that's kind of a cool collector's item, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I seem to probably going for like $5 on
eBay. 2 questions from Andy, and then we're done. And these are really, really, really simple ones. One is favorite Smosh song, and the second is favorite early Smosh video.
Ooh, favorite Smosh song. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is like the Assassin's Creed 3 rap. Just, I think that was just like our slickest song and video. Still kind of hits. Also just for the sheer dirtiness of it. I mean, I loved our, well, I don't know, going back now and watching it, you're like, ooh, but, for the play on words, it was fun. We made up this thing that we, made a commercial for a cider company that was in this town next to us called Dixon. So it was Dixon Cider. And so we made this smooth kind of like R&B song about getting Dixon cider, and it was that joke for like 3 minutes. Yeah, I thought my favorite thing about that is like I went back to look at it, and I was reading the comments, and there's so many comments from people being like, I had no idea what this song was about when I was 9, and like, like they're like, I got grounded for listening to this song and I had no idea why until now. Like, yeah. So that was fun. Oh, and then I guess like the Sex Ed Rocks music video is great. We did like a screamo song about sex ed. That was really fun.
And would those qualify as some of your favorite early videos as well? Or is there something else? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll have to look those up. Dixon Cider, Sex Ed Rocks. I'll watch those.
Yeah. They're pretty sick.
And reminisce and go down Smosh memory lane. All right. Well, there's one final question.
You might find something cancelable in there. So
Oh, that's going to happen. Yeah, that's part of this episode too. We're going to call out on all listeners to take down Smosh.
No.
And then you'll be free to make your car videos.
Oh God, that'll be my pivot.
Yeah. So there's one question that we like to end on that we ask kind of all of our guests. It's sort of a philosophical question, and that is, what makes an interesting person? What do you think makes someone interesting? How does one become an interesting person?
Well, I don't know. A good tip that I took from somebody I was working with and just talking about like conversations is when you're having a conversation with somebody, be interested, not interesting, and meaning just like don't try to force being interested. Like listen and learn. And I think I don't know, being an interesting person, I guess um I don't know, learn a skill, be like, I don't know, like find a hobby, find something you're really excited about. I think for a long time I was like afraid to like tell anybody about like the fact that I was a car enthusiast because I was afraid that nobody would care about that. And then somebody was no, that's interesting that you know like a lot about this thing. So yeah, I don't know. I would say don't try to be interesting for anyone else's sake. Just find the things that you're interested in and share it with somebody that cares.
I like that. I like that. We like to encourage people to share their weird little hobbies and interests for sure all the time because you never know who's going to be interested in it. But I also like the listener response because now that I'm thinking of it, some of the most interesting people I've ever met were astounding listeners, just very good, present listeners. I think that there is something to that. If they're always kind of paying attention and listening, they're absorbing information and, you almost intrinsically you can't help but become interesting if you're always taking things in and paying attention. So that's
be
good.
be an active listener. Don't just wait for your moment to speak. I think I guess one more thing, take an improv class because that's where I learned to be a better, more active listener. I think improv is incredibly useful for anyone.
Yes, and that's the big
and
that's the rule. Yes, and that's the improv rule. Little inside improv joke between Ian and I. All right, Ian, it was a pleasure. Always enjoy seeing your face, hearing your voice, chatting with your brain. I really appreciate you coming on. I don't know if I have to promote Smosh. I think that people are familiar with it. You probably grew up with it. You probably got in trouble and were grounded at some point for watching one of Ian and Anthony's videos.
Very possible.
Back in the day.
Come check out Smosh. Come check it out.
Check out Smosh.
We have a fun roast series on our main channel. It's set up like a funeral. On Smosh Pit, we're doing Try Not to Laugh still. It's a good format. There's some other stuff on there as well. Smosh Games, we're getting more into video games and tabletop. So if any of those things interest you, give it a look-see.
Yeah. Check it out. Still going strong. Better than ever. Great content. Check out Smosh. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of The Create Unknown. If you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. Until then, we are out of here. And we will see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We make this show with the support of our patrons. 100% of that goes directly to keeping episodes going every week, and the recent support has been amazing. Sidpoke, NRM, Venture Addicts, Weezergood, you all really do make this show happen. Thank you to the Tots and Dumpster crew, old and new, who save tiny little lives every month. Thank you to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Clemente de los Santos, Dan the Latch, Demetrius Andrews, Erica, Farrakhan, Jen Mefasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Monahim, Natsu, Penny Peddler, Risebread, Ryan Kinder, Samuel Manser, Sean S., Sean Malone, and Tom Vidioger. And a tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders: Atrocious Guff, Kat, Dojangles, Graham Robertson, James Gallagher, Jeff Davis, Orange Vanilla Coke, Patrick Pister, TCU's personal pilot, Andy, Ryan Carroll, Baseweight, Vinthos, Yeetus Deletus, Jonas Walter, Nathan Robinson, Chelxies, and of course, Trevstead. You are the elite. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer-editor Ben Webster, Minecraft mogul Laterman, Discord kitten wrangler Conrad, and producer emeritus Dan Yoshua. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme. Thanks to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. And a special thanks to Main Gear for powering all of our PC endeavors. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.